Hey there friends, Coach Green here at Healthy Homestead Living, and it's been a while since I've done a live video. Had a lot of stuff going on last couple months, working on another business and keeping things rolling around the homestead, but obviously things are a little crazy these days. So wanted to come on live, give you a few random thoughts of what's going on in our homestead and hopefully give you some encouragement and some inspiration, all that stuff. I'm here in the barn because we just finished feeding animals. This is Sunny behind me. He's enjoying his hay dinner since the grass is just now coming up and we don't want the horses to be out on the lush grass, and we're having so much rain these days that it's just a muddy mess. So we're doing everything that we can to work on the drainage and that kind of thing. But anyway, so here on the homestead we're just trying to simplify things and start getting ready for spring. So I feel really blessed that we do live in a rural area, that we do have chickens and access to beef and dairy and those kind of things. But at the same time, you know, it's that time of year regardless of whatever's going on with the economical climate or the situation in the world and all those kind of things. You know, life still goes on and we still have responsibilities, we still have things to consider. And so here on the homestead we're working on just getting ready for spring. So of course, you know, it's getting the garden ready, and I'm doing some shifts this year on the garden. I'm going to head over this way to kind of show you a little bit about my plans this year. I'm wanting to do a lot of simplifying because with my other business and the other things that I have going on, I want it to be effective, but I also want it to be simple, because the biggest thing that I hear from a lot of friends and followers and comments and emails and things like that are, well, you know, eating healthy is great and all, and I understand that we should be doing that and we should be living healthy, but at the same time it's expensive and I don't have time, and you know, I get all these excuses. And there's so many things we can do to simplify to make this actually work really, really well on a budget and still be able to get fresh food, grow your own food, do some of the homesteading and those kind of things. So here's a couple things that we're doing this year. Our raised bed garden behind me, I am covering some of it up. I'm giving it a break this year. So we're covering about probably 2/3 of it just in coating. We're getting the heavy black plastic that's not going to leach so that it stays nice and healthy, but we're going to cover it up and basically cook it to get rid of a lot of those weeds and problems, and not have to worry about maintaining it. And then the other third of the bed we'll be planting some of our bigger stuff like green beans that I want to can, and potatoes, sweet potatoes, those kind of things. So we're simplifying that so it's not going to take quite as much time, because usually what happens is I get really big ideas. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times what happens is springtime, we're all fired up, we're gung-ho, and we're ready to start planting and get big ideas, and then it gets to be about July, August, and it starts getting these really hot days and the weeds are starting to take over, and I'm just like, you know what, let the weeds take over, because I just don't have time to mess with it. So this year we're super simplifying. So this is what I'm going to do this year primarily. I have two different things that we're going to do. We're vertical gardening more than we are the raised bed gardening. This way then it can be more contained, less weeds, less hassle. So I have my tower gardens. These are here behind me, getting ready to get them cleaned and set up and started. I'll usually have one inside to do my herbs and greens, and then two outside so that I can do a lot of other various things like your cucumbers, tomatoes, Swiss chard, kale, those kind of things. But this is what I'm super excited about this year. I did a video on this back in the fall, but I wanted to reintroduce it. This is a garden tower. So let me get down here and I'll show you what this is. This is super awesome. So we did this last year, and I'm just getting ready to get this planted and get started on a few things. The garden tower is a soil base, whereas the tower garden's back here behind me. I'm going to step out here so you guys can kind of see both of them in the background. So here we have our tower gardens, and then this is a garden tower, and the garden tower is soil based as opposed to hydroponic, or aeroponic, I guess the tower gardens are. So these are super awesome in that the tower gardens have the water that is circulating on a timing system so that it keeps the plants fed and watered and aerated on a timing system, so it's super effective. But it's fantastic for especially your greens and your herbs. There's some things you can't do in the tower garden because, you know, it's not really designed well for root vegetables and that kind of thing. So the garden tower, these holes on here are actually quite a bit bigger. So I'll see if I can get this where you can see it. So these holes are big enough to where you can do carrots and radishes and some of the things that we can't do in the tower garden, we can do these in the garden tower, especially up here on top. And this part right here is a center column, and when I open this column, this is designed as a vermicompost bin. So this is where we put table scraps, and then we can get composting worms and put those in here. And that actually is a really cool ecosystem. Then it creates a complete ecosystem so that it will have the worms essentially help aerate the soil. They keep everything working the way it's supposed to, and they feed the soil with the vermicompost that's created throughout this whole process. And then there's a container down at the bottom that we can use to collect the water that when we, hey Patricia, so when you water this, then the water trickles down and it's captured down in the bottom, so you have a compost tea that you can use for other things. And then once the centerpiece here is full, after you filled it up with table scraps and the worms have turned this all into compost, then we can harvest that and we can use it for potting soil in other things or put it back into our garden tower. So it's a really awesome system. And it's all basically like this mini ecosystem right here on my porch in this really awesome, so let me step back and show you again so you can see it. So this is the garden tower. And of course, you know, back here we have our tower gardens and our garden tower. So this is where I'm really trying to simplify this year in the gardening. We can do a lot of growing of a ton of produce with just a couple of these, and they can be a lot easier to contain. So, you know, a lot of people say, well, I have deer, or I have squirrels, or I have neighbors. Sometimes it's the neighbors that kind of can cause problems on getting into your garden. Maybe dogs or cats or whatever it is. And this is a really great way in a very simple small area to be able to grow a lot of food in a small amount of space without as much work. And this is what's really cool. Check this out. So this thing, not only can it be on casters, but it has it's set up where it rotates. So for someone who is like elderly or is physically impaired or is in a limited area, like maybe even on a balcony where you don't have a lot of space to put something, so you don't want to be able to have to walk all the way around it, you can actually set this up to where it can be in the corner, and then we just rotate this thing so that you can access the entire growing system from one spot. So they've really done a great job, I think, on the design on these things. So anyway, just wanted to share that with you real quick on a quick live video, just kind of jumping on, sharing a little bit on what direction that we're going to still be able to maintain. And this is the kind of thing, I mean, I've been hearing about how there's, you know, it's interesting. I've been super busy. Like I said, I've been growing this other business, and so I haven't done a lot with Healthy Homestead Living. I apologize to you guys, all my wonderful followers out there. But at the same time, I've gotten more followers just in the last 6 days than I have probably the last 6 months combined, which is awesome because that means that more people are getting interested in the homesteading and healthy living and alternative options to be able to grow your own food and those kind of things. So check these out. I have information on these on my website. I am a distributor of both the tower gardens and the garden towers. So if you're interested in any of those, feel free to put a comment below this and I'll get you some information on where you can get them, as well as growing tips and all those kind of things. Because honestly, you know, I have a friend of mine that's in the fitness industry, and they said they're just blowing up on selling exercise equipment now with everybody being quarantined at home. And what better thing to do with your kids and with your family and stuff like that, but to start your own mini ecosystem and something like these garden towers or tower gardens where you're growing fresh produce and being able to show your kids where food comes from and how it's grown and how it tastes so much better when it's fresh and you know where it's coming from and nobody else has handled it except for you. and all of those kind of things. So it really, really is an awesome thing to do. And these tower gardens, you know, you can get the tower a month, I think, and the garden towers, I mean, you can go to Walmart or Target or any of these box stores and you can buy a big pot, something that's just, you know, a big pot like this one runs you probably, oh, you know, $150, $200 for a really good pot. And then you can put 1 or 2 things into a pot like that. And the garden tower, it runs about $350 for this entire garden tower ecosystem. And this does 50, and it also connection, internet these days. So anyway, 50 plants on average plus the top. So you get a lot of growing into one space, plus the vermicompost, plus the compost tea, plus the fact that you can be in one spot. So on a balcony, you know, depending on the size of your balcony, I mean, you could put 2 or 3 of these. I mean, think about, that's like 150 plus plants that you could be doing, and 1 tomato plant or 1 cucumber plant or 1 pepper plant can produce a lot of food. I mean, seriously, when we do tomatoes, we usually do 20 or 30 tomato plants, but that's because we want to can and get enough to be able to have enough for a whole year. But if you're looking at fresh eating or just having something on your balcony, you can produce a lot and supply food for your entire family, plus probably your neighbors and your friends and your family and all that stuff. A zucchini plant, good grief, they say zucchini, you plant 1 zucchini seed and you're feeding the whole neighborhood. So anyway, just a little inspiration for you. I hope everybody is enjoying having some shifts. You know, it's all about your mindset. It's about how you approach things. And yes, we need to pay attention. Yes, it's a very interesting time that we're living in, but we want to look at a positive perspective. We want to support other people. We want to look at what we can do as stewards to help others, to support our family, to do the right thing, and to boost our immune system and stay healthy and do the best that we can. So anyway, my 2 cents for the day. Thanks so much for joining me. God bless. We'll see you in the next video. Hopefully it'll be again soon. I'll do my best to be a little more consistent again and touch base with you guys, especially now that we're in growing season with the spring and so many fun things that are going on the homestead. So have a great evening. God bless.